everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna do something a little offbeat. Instead of doing something educational, my friend Denzel and I we're gonna talk about something we're passionate about. We're gonna talk about the Kendrick, Lamar, and Drake beef that took over the country, that took over my life personally. And Denzel, you said that it took over your life during a weekend too. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
it
Took
was
over
one of
two countries, Canada too.
right? Canada's never going to recover from this. Drake's never going to recover from this. We're going to talk about how the cognitive function showed up in the beef so that it's easier to spot when you see it in real life. Because legitimately, this beef is so public that, and it was dissected by pretty much everyone in the world, where it's easy to look at what was said and what was done, and then tie it to a certain cognitive function as to understand why that person approached that way, or just what happened. Denzel, can you introduce yourself for people who are unfamiliar with who you are?
Oh yeah, for sure. So my name is Denzel Mensa. I'm an ENFJ, 911, social sexual, in the Enneagram and Myers-Briggs system. I'm also a certified life, personal development, and relationship coach. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. I've already been actually on this channel before. If you guys haven't seen, John is a really cool dude. And I always like to, check in with him. He checks in with me. We talk. And yeah, we have great conversations. And yeah, I think that's a good enough intro for now, I guess. If you need to know any more, check out my YouTube channel. I speak a lot about type, anything interpersonal or philosophical or psychological. I really like to dive into spiritual, etc.
Denzel's my favorite ENFJ YouTuber. So if you have any questions about ENFJs, definitely check out his channel. And he knows INTJs really well. He's actually a simp for INTJs. He told me personally.
I'm openly a simp for INTJs. Favorite type.
So one of the reasons why I think this topic is so interesting as well is because of the two people that are having a beef. Typically, when it comes down to any type of diss track or beef within the hip hop or rap community, it usually ends after one or two responses, and it usually doesn't go anywhere. Recently, off the top of my head, Chris Brown released a diss track or Quavo, one of the guys that used to be Amigos. Nothing happened. No one cared about it. The reason why it's important is because the rap beef is between two of the greatest artists in hip hop that we will ever see in our lifetime. You have Drizzy Drake, Champagne Papi, the biggest known rapper in the world right now, and he's been the biggest rapper for forever. I used to listen to that guy in high school. My clubbing days was him just all over the radio. And then you have Kendrick Lamar, who is the first Pulitzer Prize winner for rap music. And I don't know if you guys understand the monumentality of what a Pulitzer Prize is. It's essentially you're telling that person that your album is so freaking good. We have to immortalize it and let everyone know that if you want to see a piece of art or a work of art, listen to this album. Kendrick Lamar is the first person that added a rap album to a Pulitzer Prize catalog, because before that it was only classical or jazz music. Yeah, he's amazing. So you have a battle between two giants, two titans, the biggest, most well-known artists in the world to one of the most influential people when it comes down to hip hop and rap history. Another huge thing about this beef is that it's uncovering a lot of issues that are being swept under the rug when it comes down to the entertainment industry in the United States. It has a lot to do with human trafficking, has a lot to do with adults diddling kids, has a lot to do with just people taking advantage of their superstar status and taking advantage of just people who don't have a voice. Not only is this a beef between two of the titans of the hip hop community, but it's also cascading into a bunch of other issues that we're running into. Guys, if you don't know anything about this, just understand that this beef is uncovering a lot of different details that is related to the Epstein case. If you know anything about the Epstein case, it has a lot to do with people, just very, very bad people doing stuff that honestly they should not be alive for. I don't know if you could tell, just in the way that I'm speaking of it. I grew up around hip hop music, I grew up around rap music, and one of the reasons why this beef matters so much to me is because it touched a little FI part of my heart. I spent a third of my life in California. I grew up during the time frame where Snoop, Tupac, and all those people were huge. I remember when Tupac passed away. I remember being in California when California Love came out. when the Source Award happened, where Snoop was like, East Coast ain't got love for us. There's a part of this beef that I'm taking personal, but also, like I said earlier, Drake has been such a huge part of my childhood or my young adulthood that it was very difficult for me to kind of see this conflict between something that I love dearly, my childhood, to something that I appreciate dearly because it was part of my young adulthood.
Yeah, most definitely. And for me, hip hop is my favorite genre of music. I was born in the Bronx, New York, so that's the birthplace of hip hop.
Yep.
I like to rap, kick freestyles with my boys, myself. I'm always like, dissecting like the old heads, but then also like the new rappers and stuff like that too. Like, hip hop just runs through my blood. And so the beef, which I don't know if this is mansplaining or anything, just in case someone was, oh, beef? What is this beef? Like, it's pretty much like any schism or tension between two rappers. And so then they decide to like, hash it out through their music, through their art. So this, usually I'm not really in support of rap beef because I feel like it's childish, stuff like that. Yeah, and I respect it. I mean, like I understand. There's always people, oh man, it's hip hop, whatever. For me, it's like I feel like because there's a lot of rap beef like in the past, like and it ended like badly, like violently in certain things. It gave, especially like in my opinion, like black people like sometimes like a lot of like a bad name, like and stuff like that. But since this one was going on, regardless, I'm gonna admit I'm the type of dude that even though I won't like incite a fight between two people, and I won't necessarily encourage it. If they're gonna go and fight anyway, I'm not about to close my eyes.
Yeah.
so I was in it. I was like, all right, I'm not necessarily like hoping that Kendrick and Drake go at it or whatever like that. But if they are, doing it regardless, I'm gonna step in and I'm gonna listen to the music. I'm gonna dissect it because there was a lot to dissect, and that's actually one of the biggest reasons why I love hip hop. Like, it's probably one of the only genres of music where you have to listen to the song so many times to be able to catch everything that's being said, like double entendres, triple entendres, quintuplets, stuff like that. And I'm very big on like words. So, and it's poetry, so I really did appreciate the art that came out of this. For those who don't know, pretty much what ended up happening or how this all started. And I'm going to run through it as fast as possible. I'm going to also have John have a link in the description or, in the comments where you can, it's just going to be a playlist on YouTube where you can just listen to every song in order, except for the first one, where it kind of like started. But you can just look up that first one, which the first one is called First Person Shooter by J. Cole and Drake. Essentially, it's a song where Drake and J. Cole, they were both they're both like, going back to back. They were talking about like it's kind of like a Super Bowl where it's like the two top rappers of our time are going back to back, and then when they're in the whole music video is just them like going back to back to back. Drake and J. Cole, as far as we know, they're really cool friends, stuff like that. In that song though, in J. Cole's verse, he said something like, people like to argue who's the greatest. Is it Kendrick? Is it Aubrey or me? We the big three, like we started the league, but right now I'm feeling like Muhammad Ali. So pretty much what J. Cole was saying was like, okay, like, like we are the top three greatest rappers of this generation and all of that. But right now I'm feeling like I'm the number one or whatever like that, which, he's not about, like, he's just saying whatever he's saying. So, but that song then made Kendrick respond on a song. So the next song was Kendrick was on Future and Metro Boomin's album, and he dropped a verse on there in the Like That song where he pretty much said, F the big three, it's just big me. And then he started throwing a lot of shots at Drake. He threw like, I think, one shot at J. Cole. And then after that, everybody was like, oh shoot, Drake, J. Cole, what are y'all gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, and then J. Cole was even confused. And so, but he got, all wrapped up into the hype. And then he did drop a song called 7 Minute Drill on his ironically named EP, Might Delete Later. So it was the last track on the album where he is just going in on Kendrick. But then at J. Cole's own concert festival thing, he apologized to Kendrick. And, it's actually said that Schoolboy Q, another rapper had like told him like, hey man, you don't want to get into this. Honestly, it's going to be like a lot of like Kendrick is about to take it to this level, and you know there was actually said that like Kendrick and J. Cole talked, and like there's a respect between them because they're friends, as far as we know. Like they used to like they're friends, and so there's that. But Drake and Kendrick, they've always had beef, and that's because Kendrick years back dropped a song called "Control," where he pretty much called out everybody. Like he said, like J. Cole, like Drake, like I'm trying to murder all of y'all, whatever, like that. And Drake didn't like that. He said that like it was just he saw it as Kendrick just like saying stuff to like hype everybody up and be, oh, what are you guys gonna do? What are you guys gonna do? And then not do anything afterwards. And Drake, he went on several interviews talking about like, yeah, I just kind of lost respect for the guy because it just seemed like something showy, like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna call all these people out to like get their attention and boom, boom, and then have everybody be like, ooh, and then and Drake didn't respect that, so he talked about that a lot. That got on Kendrick's nerves. On top of Drake.
Just to interrupt, right? To add some context, the reason why Kendrick called those people out was because it was more respecting. It was Kendrick wanted to be the best. And then out of respect, he was like, hey, in order for me to be the best, I have to be better than this person, this person, this person. And then Drake and J. Cole were part of that list that he put out. So it was misinterpreted.
I didn't understand how people... Yeah. I remember hearing that song, and I was like, oh, okay. But then when I saw on Twitter, like, everybody was like, oh, shoot. And I'm like, bro, do you not understand that if he didn't say your name, that's the insult?
Exactly.
You don't even see you as a threat.
Yeah. I don't have to worry about you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Drake, he was like, yeah, like it just seemed like it was something that Kendrick just did to like rile people up, and then he disappeared. And so now when Drake heard Kendrick come into like that verse, he saw it as Kendrick doing the same thing over again. Like, oh, he's just coming and be like, no, the big three, it's just big me, and then he's gonna disappear. And so that's why Drake was like, nah, this time we're going to stand on business. We're going to go there. Like, you're not about to repeat what you did with that Control verse, And so he did come and he dropped, like, dang, like he dropped quite a few songs, first he dropped Push-Ups, and then he dropped Tailor Made Freestyle, and both of those songs, he's pretty much like pushing Kendrick, like, come on, like, drop a song. I'm on my second song right now. After like that, you've been quiet. This that, like, and he's just going in. And then Kendrick finally, like, he did actually end up like dropping a song like afterwards, and it was Euphoria. I think that's probably my favorite song in the whole beef. So beautifully done. And then he dropped 616 in LA. And that's when Drake dropped Family Matters. And then Kendrick dropped Meet the Grams. That's my least favorite song in the whole thing. That's
my favorite, dude. Like, it's so FI heavy. It's crazy. Anyways, I'm sorry.
That's the one. No, you're good. That's the one that I feel like we're probably going to spend some time talking about because I have so many opinions on that. I was like, come on. That's the one that made me like lose respect for him. Not all respect, but like it dropped like a lot. And we'll get more into that later. And then after like Meet the Grams, then he also dropped Not Like Us. That's the one that took over. So like it was this really dark like Meet the Grams, and then next thing you know, Not Like Us. That's the one that's like the most popular out of the whole beef. I know some of y'all probably heard it, unless y'all been living under a rock. Which then again, there's a lot of INTJs on there, so maybe y'all have been living under a rock. But like that's kind of like the biggest one. And then after that, Drake dropped The Heart Part 6, which was a clever title because the Heart series is Kendrick. Like Kendrick dropped The Heart Part 1, Heart Part 2, Heart Part 3, Heart Part 4. So like he did The Heart Part 6. Plus Drake is the sixth god, etc. But in that that's the last song of the beef essentially, where Drake pretty much was like actually just denying all of the things that Kendrick was saying about him, like being a pedophile and stuff like that. And then people were like, he just spent all of his time like denying stuff in that song, so Kendrick doesn't even have to respond. So Kendrick wins, and then that's just kind of where it ended. So that's a quick rundown. Like I said, if you want to listen to the songs yourselves, like you can go and check that out. If you want like full-on breakdowns for those of y'all who like don't really like listen to hip-hop and everything, it's like, oh, this is too fast, or like I'm not really catching like all of the the metaphors and stuff like that, I'd recommend What's the Dirt on YouTube. He has the best beef breakdowns of rap music. I think he's an ISTP. He really,
I'll link it below.
yeah, man, amazing guy. But yeah, so with all that context, you can jump in.
Dude, that was amazing. That was a great recap of the timeline of all the albums that came out. I think the easiest jumping point for our video right now is let's talk about my favorite video or my favorite song, your least favorite song, and then let's talk about why it's our favorite song and why it's the least favorite song.
Sounds good.
As an FI user, even though FI is my tertiary slot, right, it controls a huge part of my life as an INTJ. And one of the things that I told Denzel before we started this podcast or whatever, this video, is that what Kendrick did is something that I daydream about. It's it's FI being able to access a certain level of emotion that I know as a normal human being I will never be able to access. And it's to hate someone so much that we want to just destroy them. The way that I envision cognitive functions is they're like just humans, right? Like if you ever watched the Disney or Pixar movie Inside Out, it's every function is a different emotion.
Yeah, so yeah, same. I
yeah,
the same way.
The way that I was interpreting this entire beef was that like FI was just like steaming, getting super upset, and then TE's in the background just sharpening the dagger, just getting ready to stab whenever like FI like TE's in the back like FI just tell me when, and then like I'll start attacking. That's how I felt when it came down to that song Meet the Grams. And a quick overview of Meet the Grams is like context matters. So Meet the Grams is presented in a way as if it was a therapy session. It was released immediately after the response that Drake had for a previous diss that Kendrick dropped. So Kendrick dropped the song. A day or two or a few days later, Drake dropped the song, and then like typically there's a huge timeline between this because it takes time for you to think about what you want to say because you have to respond to what was just said. But Kendrick did something that is pretty much unheard of. It's the first of its time when it comes down to diss tracks. He immediately overshadowed Drake's diss by immediately dropping his own diss. The one that Drake dropped was called Family Matters, and honestly, it was pretty good. Like there were a lot of he did a lot of things that I felt were pretty crazy from an FI lens.
Yeah, he dropped the bomb at that one. But
yeah,
Kendrick dropped his bomb right afterwards, and so yeah, like it was crazy. Both of them like just boom, boom. It was heavy blows for both of those songs back to back.
From the audience reaction, you could tell like which one had more of impact. One of the things that I do want to call out is that Kendrick said it in one of his songs or one of his diss track that he makes music to elevate the community. That's how I see this diss as well. Like Drake's diss, they're club bangers, right? It's something that you dance to. It's something that you laugh to. You have a good time with. But then when Meet the Grams came out, it was Kendrick having a conversation in therapy with every single member of Drake's family, then ending it with talking to Drake. He was attacking him from an FI lens. He was talking to Drake's son like, hey, your dad's a piece of shit. And then he was talking to the parents of Drake, like, hey, you raised a horrible son. Oh, you're a deadbeat dad. You weren't there, so he turned out horrible. And then the huge bombshell of the entire track was apparently Drake has a daughter that he's never actually claimed or spoke of. I've seen videos proving that she exists. I've seen videos saying that she doesn't exist. I don't know which one it is. But then at the end, it was Kendrick talking to Drake as if he was a therapist, telling him, yo, you are a horrible person. You do horrible things. Everything you do has negative repercussions or affects people negatively. And honestly, you as a character, your entire values need to change because you're just a horrible human being. That is amazing from an FI lens. It's to just stab someone in the heart and just keep twisting it until they bleed out. Like that, it's crazy. Anyways, like that's my take on it. How do you feel about it?
Yeah. So I guess to put it out there first and foremost, in my personal opinion, I'm actually not certain if John shares the same opinion, but I strongly believe that Drake is an ESFJ, and I believe that Kendrick is an INFP. So that I think that also brings like some context into things. I think that Kendrick is an absolute genius when it comes to his art.
Mhm.
Genius, not even his art, like just art in general. Like when it comes to like music, hip hop, all of that. Wow, Kendrick, top caliber
Mhm.
artist, not even just rapper, artist. So yeah, I cannot exclaim that enough. Um, what turned me off about that song was like, and I know it's just my personal opinion, so but I just really feel like it's one thing already to be like to wish death on somebody,
Yeah.
and then on top of that to repeatedly wish death on somebody. That's the second thing. It's like, okay, maybe you just didn't mean it the first time, then he said it again. But then the third thing was, again, like John was saying, he was emulating, speaking to Drake's parents. Imagine being a mother and some guy, some rapper, is coming to you pretending to be like a therapist or something like that. And it doesn't matter, like, this isn't to negate all the stuff that Drake allegedly did. So don't get me wrong with that. Like, Drake, we're going to come to him too. But I feel like no matter like what he allegedly did or whatever like that, like, you don't go to someone's mom and repeatedly say, your son needs to die. I wish your son to die. I'm like, bro, like that's kind of dark. Like,
Crazy.
and then he's like talking to his you're apparently like talking to Drake's son too, Adonis, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna raise you. I'll teach you how to be like, like, which is, like, that's like, whoa, like it's a power move. Like, so I respected it from a hip hop standpoint. Like, you know what? I'm your daddy now. I'm your son's daddy
exactly.
now. Like, okay, from that standpoint, I'm like, okay, Kendrick. But then from like maybe like an ENFJ standpoint, I'm like, bro, you don't do that. Like that's kind of messed up. You know what I mean? Like, but like he like just assumed position in that way, and he really took like a super strong moral high ground in this whole beef and this whole thing that made it seem like I am the moral god of this whole thing, which I feel like is like every function has its god complex, and every personality type has a god complex, and I think that FI dominance can oftentimes have a god complex when it comes to ethics and morality and stuff like that. And so it's like and not even just FI dominance, I think just FPs sometimes in general, especially NFPs, because the NFPs, they read so much about ethics and they read so much about like they contemplate these things more. I think that the SFPs, they're way more live let live. It's like, I'm not reading all that philosophical ethics stuff like that. I have my morals, I have my ethics and stuff like that, but hey, if you're living your life, just don't impede on mine and I'm good. But for the NFPs, it's like, how dare you do this? That is morally unjust, and boom, boom, boom. And there's a lot of good to that, for sure, because they've championed so many things. But then when they get, in my opinion, like a little bit too high up on that high horse, that now they're like, yeah, I'm judge and executioner and all that of like people's morality, and if you don't agree with my morality, then you're a horrible sick person and we're gonna shame you, to the point where you're wishing death on somebody. Oh, like, calm down. Like, deliver these things, and if you really care about this guy, then like you can do it in a way that's like, okay, I'm gonna get your attention, but you don't wish death on somebody, especially to someone's mother. Like, come on, man. In music, and you know your influence. Well, maybe you don't, but like, I feel like IPs sometimes they don't know how much they influence people. Like Jordan Peterson, I believe him to be an INTP, and he's always super confused as to why all these people act in ways like, I was just speaking my opinion, bro. You have influence. So yeah,
I agree that Kendrick has FI and TE. I'm not really sure what order it is because like as an artist, right, you have an entire team helping you. And I do agree that Drake has a lot of FE, especially because like following his social media and stuff, right? I'm not really sure what type he is, but you could be right. I think it's interesting that moral high grounds got brought up into the conversation of like Meet the Grams, because I didn't get that at all. Like, yeah, the way that I saw it was that, okay, like his FI was saying, I think you should die because I think you are a piece of shit human. But the rest of the video was legitimately him just telling Drake what he did. Right? It wasn't you did this, so you have to do this. It was just you lied about this. You lied about this. You lied about this. Like that part is TE, right? TE is like,
Oh yeah.
yo, bro, you know, like you lied about this. 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 You did this. You did this. You did this because like you felt that way. I'm pretty sure there are tons of people that felt that way too. That there seems to be like there was an interpretation that values were being brought into it. That's so fascinating. And then like I think something that I think would be very interesting to kind of dive into, what doesn't fit right with you as an FE user? Is it just imposing your ethics onto someone else, or like what, like you think that that's just a line that you shouldn't cross?
I could have my mind changed about this. I might have to think about it more, but I do have a little bit of a hesitancy on that. Like I really like the idea of like I have my ethics, I have my morals, and I'm gonna state them, and I believe that this is what this is or whatever. And hopefully, if you're a rational being, if you hear my reasoning for it, then you will also align with it because we want the best. But I'm not going to necessarily impose it. I'm going to present it to you. And, you know, but to impose it on someone, in my opinion, is to kind of have this, from my perspective, like a haughty kind of like, I know better than you type of thing. And that kind of like turns me off because then it's like, yo, you know, like just because somebody doesn't share the same, which, you know, not to like, I think I'd say that I share the same ethics as Kendrick does. Like, you know, like, like what the things that he was accusing Drake of doing, like, it's like, yeah, no, like if Drake really did do these things, like that's wrong for sure. Like, I agree with you, Kendrick, but you don't wish death on somebody because they don't align with what you think is morally wrong or ethically wrong and stuff like that. Like, that's too far. Like, just present, like saying you lied about this, that's totally fine. Like, yeah, put the facts out there and everything like that, but present what you think, like why you think these things were wrong and everything, and work with the person. Like, if you're really like taking the therapist role or whatever like that, really sit down, show love and like patience, and you can be like disciplinary and like be like, yo, you need to get your shit together kind of thing.
Yeah,
sure, but like you have like, because now the thing is, I feel like a true therapist looks at the inner child. You know what I'm saying? What happened? I mean, and you're talking to the parents, so it's like, okay, you raised like, you know, a son that's like this. What happened to make Drake turn out to be this way? Look at that inner child and then speak to the inner child. Are you going to be speaking to that child and saying, you know, you should die? You're a horrible, disgusting person. You don't agree with my bro. Be patient. Be more loving. Be able to like. I think, I don't know. This goes totally against hip hop, because hip hop is, I love hip hop, but it's full of like people who want to see blood and they're kind of immature. So it's like, you know, it is what it is. But
does this go against hip hop though? Like this is battle. Like it's teeter tottering between battle rap.
No. What I'm about to say goes against hip hop.
Oh, okay, my bad. Go ahead.
Which is, it would have been crazy. It's gonna sound so ENFJ, but it would have been crazy if Kendrick actually did take a loving angle with that song in a way, and like be like, Drake, like, I really think that you need help. I would have hated it personally. I know, like, and I feel like you know, like you should work in this, and boom, boom. You lied about this. You did this, Drake. What's going on? And yeah, it'd still be like, ooh, but then it'd be like, now we are actually like psychoanalyzing Drake, and you know, like maybe this will cause him like go and get therapy and all that. And like at the end of the day, Kendrick still wins. You know what I mean? Like, but you now see that there's pure intent. Like, I really did care about him. I wasn't just trying to win and like bash him down and like, oh, you ethically disagree with me or whatever. It's like, no, me playing this therapist role was not just a power move. It was, I actually genuinely care about you and the people that you're affecting in that way. I can respect that. But yeah, like I just didn't respect like the biggest thing was just like, I was very alarmed when he said the death thing. Like, I think he should die. And then he said it several times. Like, I think 2 or 3 times. One or two of those times to Drake's mom. It's like, bro, come on. And then, you know, on top of these things too, it's like, as far as we know, Drake, he like, I got to be careful with this. As far as we know, as far as I know, the whole pedophile allegations and stuff like that, it's really not, it's unbased. Like, the biggest thing that I know of, which was very, 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 very weird, was when he was talking, like when that like girl got on stage. She was 17, and I think she was turning 18 the next day, but still, like she was young. Like, bro, what are you doing? And he was younger too, but still, whatever. And he was like, "How old are you?" And she said 17. He's like, "Wow," and he still continued to like flirt with her. And like I think he even kissed her or something. It's like, bro, what? That was very alarming. I do not excuse that. People have said like, oh, we know she was turning 18 the next day. On top of that, like in different countries, like 17 is like okay, whatever, whatever. To me, it's still weird regardless. Like even if somebody's of age, if you're like 38 and you're like dating somebody who's like 22 or something, that's weird to me. Like personally, but that's personal. I'm not gonna wish death on somebody.
Don't impose your ethics on someone else.
Right? Like, hey, I think that's weird, but live your life. But yeah, like when I think of pedophile, and like I don't want to like get your too many like ads, like or like your video flagged, so I'm gonna be careful with that word. But when I think of that word, I'm thinking of like children. Like I'm thinking like you're doing like you said, like diddling like kids, you know what I mean? And it's not to say that like, oh, with a teenager, like it's okay. I'm not saying that either, but I do think that there's more of a difference. And then on top of that, even then he didn't diddle with teenagers as far as we know. He just has a tendency to like date people that are younger than him, and even them, they're not underage. Yeah. They're just significantly younger than he is, which again I said that's weird, but it's not pedophilic. And then lastly, he does like text, apparently, like he was texting dang, I can't remember her name, but the girl who plays 11. Yeah, and it's like, but all of these people, like they came out and they said like, yo, we've never texted about anything inappropriate, and like he's been a great supporter and this that. Again, we don't know all these things for a fact, but it's like, let's not, to call somebody a pedophile and then have the whole country calling this person a pedophile, like that's a huge allegation. I just think that there's a difference between saying I don't see there's a reason for that to like all of a sudden, oh, pedophile. Like I think that's such a huge leap. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't think like we don't like that's a huge thing. That's a huge label.
But I think the issue here is for those of you watching who made it to this part of the video, right? And if you're an FI user, right, like please put in a comment, right, whether this is something you would do or not. It's a result of actions that Drake took that Kendrick thought was a little too much. We know now for a fact that Kendrick paid people to like dig dirt on Kendrick and his family.
Drake paid people?
Yeah, Drake paid people to dig up dirt about Kendrick and his family. Mm-hmm. And that was the point. Like Kendrick straight up said it. He was like, this was supposed to be just a sparring match, and then you went after my family. So at that point, it was like gloves off. Like I'm stooping down to your level. Before I even started talking about your family and you as a person, you started trying going against me and my family. In the music video for Family Matters, the track that was released right before Meet the Grams, he accused Kendrick of being a wife beater. So, right? So, and then not only did he accuse him of being a wife beater, right? There was a line in the song where, and I think I told you about this, where there's a track that Kendrick had in one of his albums, and the song is my aunt is a man now. So like Kendrick has an auntie who is now his uncle, who like is transgender, and he was very vocal about how it affected his family and how it affected him because he was a churchgoer. And then like in one of the final line of the song, or one of the final lines of the song that like made me tear up when I heard it, was that was a day where I chose my heart over church. Not only did Drake talk about his wife, which honestly, just me as a person, if anyone went after my wife, that's game over. Like gloves off, right? But then he also went over someone that he cared about, someone he specifically made a track about. And Kendrick even, like, well, not Kendrick, but Drake even, I think in that song, talked about Kendrick's mom as well, right? That's where he talked about how he accused the mom of abusing him or something.
Oh, yeah.
The way that I see this is Kendrick responding with Meet the Grams as a therapeutic session, talking to his family member, is a even bar for what Drake did before that. Because it was, okay, I'm not going to stoop to this level, but you went there first. And because you went there first, then I'm going there. It's the whole eye for an eye thing. And then there's the other part of me, too, where I'm just like, yeah, dude, please, not kill her. Like, bury this guy. Bury Drake. You know, like, don't ever let anyone disrespect your family. Don't ever let anyone disrespect anyone that's part of your FI. The whole, like, PDF file and then, like, children and all that stuff, right? All that is allegations. There's no proof for that. It's just there's a lot of patterns that
for sure.
Exactly.
That I'm not deny. Yeah. And I think that, I mean, just a, I guess, T.I. clarification, that's not Kendrick's wife, by the way.
His fiance. They've been dating for how long?
Not even. Yeah, no. That's kind of what Drake was like pointing at. Drake was saying in one of the songs, like he was saying, like, well, y'all, you did get her a ring at one point, but seems like y'all broke the engagement, you know, and I think it's because you've been cheating, which he did. Kendrick admit to it himself in his album, Mr. Morale. And then he's like, and on top of that, we know the type of women that you actually like, which Drake was trying to say, like, yo, you're going against your own morals. Like, you're talking about black this, black that, but you be having sex with a whole bunch of white women. We don't know that for sure, but that's what Drake is saying. When Drake brought in his Kendrick's family, because even though it's not his wife, it's still Kendrick's family. So regardless of if it's not his wife, like, that is still his family, whatever, baby mama or not, that's still the child that he has with her and everything. We don't even know if they're together right now. Kendrick, in an interview, said something along the lines of, like, yeah, I don't even call her my partner or anything like that, or, like, you know, like, that's she's just my best friend, or like a really close friend or something like that. You don't know exactly what that means. You know, it could be like, she's more than a partner, she's my best friend, or it could mean like, no, we're not really partners, we're just best friends because she supposedly had enough of, you know, his cheating and whatever else that he was doing. We don't really have any evidence for Kendrick like beating his queen and all that, and from what I saw, it was actually a misinterpretation that Drake, so embarrassing on his part, but like when he like listened to the Mr. Morale song, like Mother I Sober, it seems like he misinterpreted a section where Kendrick was saying Kendrick's mom kept on thinking that Kendrick was being sexually abused by his uncle. And so when Kendrick would say, no, I'm not, then his mom's like, are you sure? And then the uncle found out that he was being accused of like doing things to Kendrick. And then Kendrick apparently like comes home and he sees his queen, not his wife or his partner or whatever, but his mom. That's the queen that he's referring to, according to, like, you know, from what I can tell. From my interpretation, his queen, black and blue, from the beating of his uncle, because his uncle, who is his mom's brother, is like, so you think that I've been like sexually abusing your son? Like, is that? So then he beat on Kendrick's mom, but it wasn't Kendrick who beat his mom, and it wasn't Kendrick who beat his partner or his fiance or ex-fiance, whatever. However, the only part that makes me still be like, but we don't know, is because Drake said that you had to call crisis management or crisis control, whatever, like that. Where did Drake get that from? Like, that wasn't in the song. So either Drake found out, like, he did the digging and he found out, like, oh, like, I know that you had to call crisis control for what you did to your so like, sure, maybe I misinterpreted this in that song, but it's probably the reason why I misinterpreted that is because I know what you actually did to make your girlfriend leave, whatever, like that. And, you know, she probably still loves you, she probably forgave you still, but it's like, you got some anger issues. I don't know. We don't know. There's so many like allegations. It's like, I don't know.
So many layers to it.
Yeah, exactly. So all of this got really dark. It got really personal. It got really crazy. I think the biggest thing too is just that Drake, I never really saw him as an insightful guy. I never really saw him as mature. He's a kid to me. Like, him and Kendrick and J. Cole, they all live so totally different lifestyles. Like, Kendrick is like, you know, about like meditation and like getting into himself and like reading and like black power and all this stuff. Drake is just about vibes and having fun and sleeping with women and sweet talking them and he's living a little like bachelor life kind of thing. And so to me, I guess the thing for me was that I expected more from Kendrick, as in like you shouldn't have even had to like stoop to that level because yeah, he did bring up your family. Like he talked about Whitney, Kendrick's partner, and he was implying that like Whitney slept with her bodyguard. I know about that, but you know, whatever. To then go to the extent like to take it like that much further, I don't know. I feel like that's just a lot, and I just feel like Kendrick, for somebody who I believe to be always have said like he's such an evolved person and stuff like that, and like you don't let such matters like pull you down. Like Drake is immature. Just be like, and this guy, like, sure, you can get into the rap battle with him and everything like that, and like, but like, you know, keep it kind of not necessarily like friendly, but like, look at these like low blows that this guy is doing. If you really want to like show like how evolved you are, show like how much more mature you are. Like, I'm not about to stoop to that level.
I don't think that's the point though. Like,
yeah, probably isn't.
You know, yeah, it was more, yo, you went there, I'll go there too.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I was like, you know, like, yeah. I don't think he was trying to show maturity at all throughout this.
Yeah. So we went over a lot of like how introverted feeling and extroverted thinking manifests when we're trying to like attack someone, right? Can you go over where you saw the most like extroverted feeling and introverted thinking show up? I know it happened because there were certain things that Drake did that just it definitely went over my head. Can you just kind of go over like the best diss that the FE/TI Axis did during this entire diss?
So I know that when Taylor Made Freestyle came out, I know that you said that like you saw it as like disrespect to Pac. I love Tupac, but I personally didn't see it as disrespect because I saw it as like very, very, very creative. I was like, wow, this is really creative because it came from so many angles. It's a psychological game that he was doing on Kendrick. He was like, all right, and oh man, okay. So that was probably like my second favorite song of the beef. So pretty much what happened was Drake, when he came out with the song Taylor Made Freestyle, he started off with Tupac. Now, if you don't know, well, conspiracy theorists say that Tupac is still alive. I personally don't believe that, but let's just grant that he is dead. So Tupac starts rapping at the beginning of this song, but it's obviously not Tupac. You can even tell by the flow that it's actually still Drake, but he just used Tupac's voice with AI. And then right after that, he has Snoop Dogg also with AI.
Who's still alive.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was comedic. I thought it was funny. But there's a reason for why he did that. Like that's why I was like, oh shoot. So like he used Snoop Dogg as well to like come in and like also rap. And then after that, then it was Drake. So it was kind of like Drake rapped all three verses, but he used AI to play as Tupac and then play as Snoop and then be himself at the end. And the whole song was pretty much like Tupac, and because by this point, Kendrick had not released a song yet, or like a response diss track yet. So Taylor Made Freestyle, like Drake was trying to entice Kendrick to drop his diss tracks responses back to him because he didn't want him to repeat what he did with Control. Like, no, just let it all die out now. You following through. Like, we're gonna hash this out finally. The reason why he used Tupac is because Tupac is probably Kendrick's biggest influence. Yep. So he took Tupac's voice and he put Tupac on Kendrick's side. But like, and to answer your question with the FETI thing, this is gonna piss off all the INTJs I know. But FETI, when it attacks, it's very indirect. It's a very like side cut. Very like it's almost like what the heck just hit me? What just hit me over here? Like it's not gonna be like the direct TE jabs. It's gonna be like, was that just a cut? No, not. It's very sarcastic, very sardonic, very like. It's mind games. So it's to the point where you start thinking like, I'm going crazy. Like, I know he's saying these things, but everybody around you is like, bro, he's just drinking water. Why are you taking offense to that? It's like, no, because he's drinking the water because he knows that it's affecting me in this way. It's like, dude, I think you're going crazy. So it makes you start to lose credibility with the people that you're around, especially, with NFJs. Like Drake, I believe he's ESFJ, but like it's still like FETI thing. But with NFJs, they take it to a whole other level. It's like, dude, I think that, because now it's almost like it's almost like you're being gaslighted in a way. So it's kind of crazy. So anyway,
gaslighted, passive aggressiveness.
Yeah. Look, I own it. I mean, like that's the dark side of FETI. So he used Tupac's voice because he knew that Tupac is Kendrick's like biggest influence, and he put Tupac on Kendrick's side in the song. Yeah. So I think it would have been distasteful if Tupac was on Kendrick's side. I mean, was on Drake's side and like dissing Kendrick like directly. I think that would have been like, oh, that's where I would have personally been like, okay, now you've crossed over the disrespectful line. But the fact that he, in my opinion, it was very cleverly done. He put Tupac on Kendrick's side, but he still was like manipulative and like subtle with it, because he had Tupac saying certain things. Like he had Tupac saying things like, yo, Kendrick, like, get this Canadian guy, like beat him up, like call him a bitch for me, all of that. But then he would throw in little jabs like, I heard the spirit of Machiavelli is alive in a brother under 5'5", so it's got to be you. Okay, that's a diss. He's like, and then when Snoop Dogg comes in, Snoop Dogg gave Kendrick he passed the torch onto Kendrick at the House of Blues. So that's another thing. It's like, oh, Snoop. That's another reason why like Drake used Snoop Dogg, because it's like, yo, like these are your two greatest people that like they're like, yo, Kendrick, what are you doing? Like, bro, go and get Drake. You know what I mean? Like, show him how we move. And Snoop is like, but then he starts, Snoop, which is really Drake, he starts to diss Kendrick in subtle ways. Once again, he's like, I know you never been to jail, and you never got into a fight, and you never did this, and you never did that.
Yeah.
So these are also still like little jabs, but he's still saying like, look, we passed you the torch. You got to go and get this Canadian guy. Mm-hmm. And then that's when Drake comes in at the end. He's like, yeah, Unc, that's the truth, which he's pretty much talking to Snoop like, yeah, like that's still my uncle too. Like, he's both of our uncles, Kendrick. And then that's when Drake starts talking his stuff. He's like, I'm really about to live I just thought it was such a great song.
What part was it? Can you break down what part of it was FE and what part of it was TI? It's difficult for me to see both.
Yeah, it's mixed together. So the FE part of it was knowing Kendrick's relationship with these two specific people, and then the TI of it was pointing out certain truths about Kendrick, but using these two role models of Kendrick to point out these truths. So it's almost like Drake is saying like, I'm not the one who's saying it. Your heroes are saying this about you. But it makes it hard. FE makes it hard for you to attack them back, because it almost makes it seem like you're attacking them for no reason. You know what I mean? Because it's like, why are you attacking Drake? He's like, no, because Drake knows exactly what he's doing. It's like,
that's
no.
gaslight.
And then the FE's like, oh, but I don't know. Because it makes it's so subtle. But then when the TE attacks, it's so overt that everybody's like, whoa, you know what I mean? And that's why Kendrick's like, oh, I hate sneak this and I hate sneak this in, because then it's like, dang, like it makes it hard for me to really attack it, because you can just be like, I never said that, I never did that, and that's so that's like the FE making you like lose credibility like with the people around you, but then the TI still like finding little points to like puncture you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So then would the purpose be to pretty much just silence you because no one's gonna believe you anymore, or
it's to silence you, is to make you lose credibility with because the people like are not going to believe you, and then to like continue to like torture you with these, because now you start to become paranoid. And we all know, especially you as an INTJ, like I get it, there's reason for INTJs like why they're like so suspicious of FE all the time, especially FE being like in the trickster place. But like now it's like, okay, like it's always like FE, these FEs, they're up to something. It's like, no, I'm not. It's like, yeah, no, you're playing in.
We're right. That's why I'm here. We're right. Gaslit.
Sometimes in the Drake situation, yes, he was definitely doing it. But yeah, like it makes it hard to like actually like hit. It's almost like a hit, and then and then disappears before he can hit back.
Okay.
And so yeah, the goal was to like make it seem like to like psychologically like damage Drake and to damage Kendrick and to disarm Kendrick too. Like he pretty much said like he had Tupac be like, call him a bitch for me, say that he likes little girls. He pretty much said like, yeah, go ahead and do all like say all of these things about Drake that I know you're already going to say, so that way if Kendrick were to say like you're a bitch or like you're this, then everybody would have been like, oh, okay, well, Drake knew that he was going to say these things. And so now it's kind of like when somebody's like, oh, so what are you going to do? Are you going to call me a bitch? Heard that before. Are you going to call me a pedophile now? Heard that before. What else do you got on me? And then Kendrick's like, that was at least the goal. Obviously it didn't work fully because Kendrick still wiped them. But yeah.
A little bit of context of how much Kendrick loved Tupac and Snoop. Kendrick has an album called To Pimp a Butterfly. Yeah. But initially it was supposed to be called To Pimp a Caterpillar. And then it was supposed to be TPAC, like T-Pac, right? Because that's how the show Tupac was from. And then the other thing about Snoop is a West Coast legend. During the time frame where Snoop came out, he was one of the fastest selling and most like he sold the most album as a rapper when he came out with his album Snoop Doggy Dogg, or I forgot what the album was called. Everyone was from the East Coast. Every rapper that was huge was from the East Coast. And then Snoop came out of nowhere and he put like West Coast on the map. So like you have two West Coast legends, and then that's the reason why I felt offended by it as well. It was like, dude, this is your beef. Don't bring our legends into this beef. You know, like there's the, there's the what's happening, and then there's the data side, like what's actually happening, and then there's like the culture side, right? And then that's something that continuously gets brought up in this like beef. It's like, Drake, you are a rapper. Drake, you are the most well-known rapper in the world. But you don't really understand the culture. You don't really understand what you're doing. But it's interesting. It's interesting hearing it from like FE perspective. Like, oh, okay, so that was the angle that he was going at. Because it really did. Like for me, it was just, I told you this, and I told like my ESFJ friend who he loved it too. He was like, oh, this is the best way to attack Kendrick. And I was like, oh, that's so tone deaf. You're not only attacking Kendrick, you're attacking the entire populace of like people. You know, like you're not just gonna hurt him, you're gonna lose and all these people that are following you because you're like legitimately attacking their FI as well, or something that they care about.
I think that if he would have blatantly put Tupac and Snoop against Kendrick, then that would have been very distasteful. But he subtly did it.
I would almost prefer that, to be honest, as a TE user.
More direct.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I guess maybe as an FE user, I like the clever stuff. Like a personal example I could use is that I had an ISFP manager who had anger problems, right? Back when I was a server at Buffalo Wild Wings, and at one point, like he got really, really, really pissed because, it was a very busy night and he needed people to run food, but like, I said, I'm going to get to that as soon as I check on my table, this is that. And then he literally like starts slamming stuff. He's like, I need people, boom, boom, boom. And I looked at him and I was like, you know what? Thanks for yelling at me like that. I really did deserve it. And it was very mature of you. That is obviously like indirect, because now if he gets mad at me and he tries to fire me, what is he going to tell the manager or like the higher ups? Like, I fired him because he told me that like, he really appreciated how I yelled at him and this, that, and it was very mature of me. Okay. Well, no, but he meant it sarcastically. And I could just play like, no, how could you prove that I meant it sarcastically? No, I really said that was mature of you. Like you slamming the tray on the floor and doing all of that, like that was very mature. Like, and I really deserved you yelling at me like that. Because it's pointing out to you like, bro, you see how dumb you are? But I'm not telling you that directly. I need you to get to your own logic of that. And if you can't get to your own logic of that, then that shows how stupid you are in and of itself, and I don't have to entertain you anymore. So I appreciate little clever things like that, instead of just being like, if I just came back and like, that was very immature and boom, boom, it's just going to start even more whatever. So instead it's like, you go and self-evaluate by yourself, by me just subtly bringing attention to like, that was very mature of you. Because now it makes you start thinking like, dang, that wasn't mature of me. It's like, I hope that you would know that. You know what I mean? So I feel like Drake kind of like went that way.
I appreciate the effectiveness of it. Right? I think my question is it satisfying? to
it is satisfying for me too.
it is okay.
Absolutely.
As long as it's
very
satisfying, I'm all for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very satisfying for me because then it's like it's I have the upper hand as well. It's like, yeah, no, like, oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, that was very mature. And you can just keep on laying it on and they can't attack you back. They can't attack you back because it's almost like you're complimenting them, but you're not.
Yeah.
But they can't prove that you're not complimenting them without finally owning up to, no, I did act immaturely. Oh, so now you admit it. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's a trap. And I think it's clever. It pisses people off, especially if they're on the other side of it. But sometimes I feel like that's what needs to be done.
I know we're a little off topic, right? But like, how does it feel then when someone owns it? When you were like, "Oh, I appreciate you doing this," and they're like, "Yeah, I felt fucking great."
So if I were to say, for example, like, that was very mature of you, boom, boom, and then the person is like, "Thank you, that is very mature of me," or something like that. Is that what you mean?
Like that was immature. I don't care. Like I wanted to yell at you, like, right?
To me, it just makes me to be totally honest, it just makes me immediately be like, "Oh, okay, now I see that you know what you're doing," and so therefore, I just lose respect for you, and then you're no longer a factor to me. It's like you're way too beneath me for me to even to engage with you. I had to hike down, like, oh, okay, I'm not going to stoop to your level. Like, why would I clearly my maturity and my intelligence surpasses yours, so I'm not going to engage with you anymore. You know what you're doing and you just don't care. I view myself to be above that, so therefore now that I've been able to unveil that you know what you're doing and you just don't care about it, then I'm not going to let what you do bother me anymore because I'm too above that. That's how I feel. Yeah.
Damn. I wonder how many times I made people feel that way about me.
Yeah, and the advantage to that is like you probably really don't care at that point. You probably are like, oh yeah, well, like even if they do feel that way about me, I don't care. And it's like, cool, then everybody wins. I'm glad that you don't care because I don't care either. I'm not going to engage with you, and you don't care if I'm engaging with you. Let's keep separate.
So we went over how the FETI axis and the TEFI axis showed up in this beef. Let's talk about the other two axes, NI and SE and NE and SI. Do you want to give us some examples of where NE and SI came out?
I think that with Drake, it probably came out with like how much information that he knew or he felt like he knew about things. And it's almost like how like ESFJs, it's not an offense to ESFJs, but like they're sort of like stereotypically known for like gossiping in a way. So I know that in my personality hacker class, like an ESFJ who's like looping, they might see a man go into their neighbor's house, for example, while the husband is not home or something. And then the ESFJs, NE tertiary, oh my gosh, my neighbor's having an affair, and they come up with this whole thing and like just start coming up with all these ideas of like what could be going on there. And then it's like, wait, hold on, let's go to the SI. From what you know about your neighbor, is this consistent with how they are as a person? Like, what concrete details and facts do you really know to like before you just jump to that? So with Drake, it's like I think the NE, like he was like throwing a lot of, oh, I'm assuming this. Oh, the picture's making sense now. Like you were abused and this, that, and it's like, bro, you misinterpreted. Unless, I don't know, did you really get some solid concrete? Like, the people that you paid off, whatever, did you find out some solid details about what really like took place and all this information? Like, he literally said in one of the songs, he said like, that's not even all I know. Don't wake the demon up. It's like ESFJs, like they tend to like have like all of the tea. So it's like, I feel like he probably, but then it's funny how like with Drake, Kendrick, he was like, do I look like somebody who's gonna like have people going around? That's whole shit. Like I have a son to raise, but I know you know nothing about that. Like, so like he didn't see it as like, whatever. But yeah, I think that could be an example of like how Drake, he really took it like the SINE, like, I have like all of this information on you, kind of thing. And, but then he would leap, or what we could tell is leaps, because if it's verified to be true, then now we know that it wasn't a leap and that his NE just actually helped him there. Or if it's verified to be false, like the stuff that he claims or whatever like that, then we know like, okay, you didn't really go into your SI enough, and so all of your information is invalid.
Yeah.
That's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially when he talked about how, you didn't put a ring on your partner or like your best friend yet, right? Why didn't you? And E went all these other places like, oh, you probably beat her. And then I've heard like crisis control was called once. So
Right.
and E's attack like, okay, crisis control. SI is like, oh well, like people who have been with someone who has like 2 or 3 kids with them, they typically would get married. Why didn't you get married? And he's like, here you go, SI. The reason why I didn't get married is because he was a wife abuser, you know? So, I could definitely see how NE was supporting SI with Drake during some of his diss. It's really interesting. And then this is my call to anyone who is with anyone who's watching who's in the NE-SI axis. Let me know. Please let me know, because SI is my 8th function, and like they're all in my shadows, right? So like I can only speculate. Denzel's probably way better than me because he went to the personality hackers. And didn't you guys do like practices where you like?
Oh
yeah.
The embodiment exercises. Yeah.
Do you think Kendrick did anything that was relatively SE and SI related?
Did you say SESI or did you mean NESI?
Like NESI. I'm sorry.
NESI. I think that aside from the possibility that like he came up, like he generated so many ideas, and like music is just such an interesting thing. Like on one end at the beginning, it's Drake going drop.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, and then the whole time Kendrick is probably, as far as we can tell, like thinking like, man, like you don't understand. Like, I'm coming up with too many ideas. Like, I'm overflowing with ideas. Like, I hate you so much. I don't even know where to start. Like, I need to pick something to go off of. And all of the songs that I make, they probably could be half an hour each.
Yeah.
So I feel like that could have been something. And, then if you're thinking like SI, he's probably like reaching into the archives of all the stuff from like even way back when, like back with the Control verse and stuff like that. He brought up like the Pusha T, and, now this is the thing with just rap in general, metaphors and analogies and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily to say like, oh, NE has the monopoly on this. But I think that Kendrick is so good with like making like so many like quick like references and stuff like that, that I think that that's where like the NE can also like really shine with him. Like he likens so many things to other things like very rapidly, and then he'll go to like very specific details, like moments, like things about like with that, like he'll reference like something very specific, which is like the SI of it all. But then the NE can make it seem random. So it's like, which is the paradox of NESI. Like, that is so random because it's so specific. Yeah. So I feel like that's something that like we could probably like see throughout that too.
I'm not really sure where I saw like SINE from Kendrick. And I just thought of something that Drake did after the beef somewhat ended, after like Drake like apologized. When he released that track like Why Guan Delilah or something. Where where like they did like a Canadian version of Hey There Delilah. And the reason why I consider that NESI is because he's like, all right, well, I know you guys don't like this, so I'm just gonna do this, right? Like I'm gonna do something completely off the wall. And then like when I heard that, my functions, it was SE that came out. SE was like, what the hell am I listening to? Like this isn't popular, this isn't good music, like what is this? But outside of that, one of my favorite reasons why this beef was just, it was huge for me, was because like there was just so much NISE, especially from Kendrick's side. And I don't know whether it's from Kendrick or whether it's from his team or not, but it was so meticulously thought out, the way that Kendrick was going to attack Drake, right? Like if you're NI Dom, INTJI and FJ, right? You understand that it might take us a little bit to figure out exactly what we want to do, because it's not just figuring out what we want to do, it's also figuring out how we're going to do it. So it was just the way where there was a lot of foreshadowing. In Euphoria, Kendrick straight up told Drake, I can already predict your angles, right? And he even said your song back to back. I like that. You know, just a bunch of different things that pretty much he was like, hey, if you keep going on with this, I'm going to do it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and then so then it was just everything had a purpose to it. When he finally responded back to Drake, Meet the Grams came out almost immediately, which there is a case to be said to be like, oh, you know, has any thought that, oh, all these ways could happen, so I'm just gonna make a track so that I can release it, right? But I don't really see it that way because of everything else that was following it too. It was like, okay, and I was like, I know I can already predict your angle. I know you're gonna talk about my family, so I'm gonna talk about your family in this track. I know you're probably gonna release it soon, so I'm gonna have it ready. So, and then I'm going to SE the shit out of this track. I'm gonna make it sound so like terrifying. You know, if you listen to Meet the Grams, it has this very eerie horror-esque like feel to it. You know, like this piano was just playing in the background, and then he's talking.
Yeah, it's a very dark song.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like this is just the entire SE presentation of it, and then like the moment where it got dropped, you know, NISE, and then doing back to back, you know, it was like, okay, hey, I already knew you said that I could make good music, but I can't make a banger. Well, guess what? On the very next day, when you thought I was done, I put out this song that just took over the United States, right? Like the #1 stream rap song in like the 24-hour time frame, and also he was like he already knew that Drake was going to talk about, you know, like, or like just not understand rap culture or just hip hop culture or just black culture in the US. So that I'm going to attack it from my culture. I'm going to bring it to, and then, you know, me being a Cali person, right? Growing up with that Cali, the type of music, right? When I heard it, I was like, yeah, I'm going to sea-walk, dude. Like, I felt like sea-walking. I don't know how to sea-walk. It's just, you know, I grew up, yeah. I grew up around that, especially in that type of neighborhood where I was just like, man, I like just it felt just so amazing just to hear like West Coast like Cali music during that time frame. And then it was like, okay, so yeah, I told you that I know all your angle. I told you I already know what you're going to talk about. I have these ready because I know you're coming with it, and I'm gonna drop it because I already know when you drop it. Because I already know your angle, I'm going to drop it, say exactly what you're gonna say, but I'm gonna SE spectacle it so much that it's gonna overshadow what you have. And then what you think I'm done? Guess what? Nail in the coffin. It's I'm gonna bring something something up out that you said I couldn't do, and I'm gonna do it better than you can. And the last thing that really the beef is over afterwards, but this is something that I absolutely love. Absolutely was that they dropped Not Like Us on the 4th of July, Independence Day, guys. You know, I woke up and there was an eagle cawing outside my window. I was just like, I feel very patriotic because, you know, I used to serve in the military too. But like, and in that video, right? Like, if you watch any video, watch this video. I love the fact that he put his partner or his best friend.
And like, the child, they were dancing together.
I was just like, I remember just thinking to myself, like, how big of a flex can you have to be like, hey, you said that I was a wife beater, you said that I was unfaithful, or not unfaithful. I said I was unfaithful, right? But like, you said that Whitney hated me, but guess what? She is by my side supporting me to diss you, right? With our family,
with my son.
Exactly, with our son. And she is dancing to my music with the culture that we were raised up in. Like, just that scene in itself, like, it solidified me. Like, there was, when I saw that scene, dude, like, I wanted to cry. I was just like, oh, like, dude, that's like, as you know, like,
it being black and white too was like really dope too. It made it extra like,
And then like the other part of it too, was, you know, like her wearing like a wife beater and like a tank top, right? Being wife. But then like to me, it was just like, dude, like Kendrick's living a life. You know, he has a wife that's supporting him. He has a wife that's like willing to show up in the music video to be like, yo, dude, like whatever you say about me or my man, like I have his back regardless, right? And the kids are they're having a great time. But just the whole NI aspect of it, just like everything being so precise. And then not just the NI aspect, right? It's the SE aspect of it too. Is just having just like it's one thing to just release a diss track like fire bars or something, right? Like it's another to make it so that people can't sleep, to make it so that content creators who are the react to your video are just like, nah, man, this is too much. No like actors or like
some people are like recording, and then in the middle of them recording, they're like, wait, he dropped again?
Exactly, right? It's just like, and I just remember thinking to myself, right, because I was in bed, and then my friend was like, yo, he dropped a diss track, and I was like, come on, Kendrick, I'm trying to sleep, man. Like I need rest. But and then just that feeling you get after you heard Meet the Grams, and you're just like, all right, this is like this is it. There's no way Drake is going to respond to this. And then you wake up the next morning and then you find out Kendrick dropped another song and it's a freaking club banger. And then the thing also is, I don't know if most people are aware of this, he dropped it at I think like 7 or 8 p.m. in the East Coast time. It was right before bars and clubs opened. Mm-hmm. So that it was meant to be played at bars and clubs for that night, so everyone's seeing it. It's just, I loved it. I loved every part of that.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree that even though personally I still believe INFP for him, there was a lot of like NI usage there that he tapped into to like put the plan together and everything like that. And like, it came out really like beautifully for sure. Like I think that like, it was very well thought out. The whole thing is just crazy. And I'm really curious to see how like things will continue to move forward too. Like even once J. Cole drops the Fall Off, like because he dropped out of this whole feud pretty early on.
He's the winner. He's the only winner in this feud.
That's what I think. It's like he was spotted at the beach by a fan. He was just like chilling, just relaxing. And then the fan said that when she spoke to him, he said that he didn't even like the beef and what was going on and stuff like that. Like he didn't really respect it, but hey, like so like, and I know like there's just so much that's like gonna happen. Like, is J. Cole gonna still come out and talking about like, oh yeah, I'm the best, like I'm number one? Like, is he gonna be on that? Is he gonna be like more like, you know what, I'm gonna actually make my last album, I'm gonna tweak it a little bit. And I'm gonna actually make it be just more like prophetic and like, you know what, guys, this is what I'm gonna leave you guys with. Like, I don't know. I'm curious about how all this is gonna go. I'm curious about like what Drake is gonna have going on soon. He said that he's focused on summer vibes right now, but like when he starts rapping again, when is he gonna say the N-word again? And then like how people are gonna respond to that. If he's gonna like bring, like, he posts certain things on his story, subliminals, which it's so interesting how to see like how these things are like, oh, it could be like NI, but then it's also like SI, like these perceiving functions, they can bleed into each other like so well, because like somebody go, oh, it's NI symbolism that Drake posted this on his story, but then it's like, or it could be because this movie is like actually an old movie, so it's really just SI that he's like bringing back into it, stuff like that. Even when Drake said something like, I knew you were going to take that Epstein angle, it's like, oh my gosh, it must be NI. It's like, or he just also just knows like what you're going to attack him with. Like that's why he used Tupac, and he's like, I already know, like, call him a bitch for me, call him all the things that you're going to say about me, I already know you're going to say it. So it's like, but either way though, I'm really curious to see like what, like where Drake is going to go from here. What is his PR team going to be like? Hey man, like I think you should lay low for a while. Like how about you not say the N-word for like a year or something? I don't know. Will like Kendrick has an album supposedly coming out soon. I'm curious to see how that's going to go. He had his pop out concert thing, and he had, they played They Not Like Us 6 times.
That was amazing. And then he played it in Cali, like he's a hero. And he had I think the governor or the mayor, I forgot, right, gave him a key to Compton. Like he is loved in his city. He's loved in Cali.
So I'm really curious to see how all of these things like unfold over time. If y'all not into hip hop, y'all need to hop into it.
Yeah, the last thing I do want to say about this beef is it transcended just this rap beef. Not only because of like all the allegations or anything. Drake recently posted, he made a bet. There was a soccer game between like Canada and Argentina, and then Drake publicly said that like he bet that Canada was gonna win like 300K or something. And then when Argentina won, their Instagram post was their team like celebrating, and the caption was "Not like us." And it was Team USA the basketball recently beat Team Canada basketball, right? And then when they came out, they played "Not Like Us," and then when they won the game, the very first song that came out was "Not Like Us." You know, like it is such a like people. You can see it as a like hip hop song, rap song, whatever. But honestly, you can also see it as like the U.S. theme song right now, because the U.S. has so much culture that has bled over to like, and that became global. You know, so I do believe that this is a rapper hip hop beef, but I think the winners of this beef is not only just J. Cole, because you know that dude's going to the beach just relaxing, but also like America won, you know, not just Cali, but America won. Like, it's just legitimately, we can honestly be proud that we created all these different, you know, like just all these culture that's being mimicked, but then like it's and we could tell now, or we have a saying now, we would be like, yo, they're just not like us, you know. Ultimately, you know, like it is hip hop, so it is like the biggest winner is like the Black community, especially the Black community that like developed and like nurtured rap and hip hop throughout the throughout the time, you know.
Just, New York is still winning. I was gonna say earlier too, like Pac, he claims West Coast, but he was born in Harlem.
Yeah.
New York guy.
It is crazy though. Like the biggest Cali guy is from New York.
But no. But we're you know, ENFJ, we're all together. It won't one country. Even Snoop is like, hey, one love now. There's no West Coast, East Coast joint. It's all love, all over. So regardless of where you're from, unless if you're from Canada, I guess it's not all love anymore.
Not like us. Not like us.
Not like us.
Yeah. Our Joyce, not like us.
Man.
All right, cool. Yeah. I think we definitely went over time with this. Denzel, thanks again for hopping onto my channel to talk about this. It was fun.
Yeah, most def, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, bro. Like, thanks for inviting me. It was nice to be able to chop it up, hip hop and type. God dang, like those are things I really love to talk about. So I'm glad we were able to actually like have a great conversation about this, and you know, now even continuing to move forward, I'm gonna like I said, I'm gonna be really examining more like Kendrick and Drake in these ways. And, I'm excited for more conversations that we'll have like behind, you know, like off camera and stuff like that in the future.
Yeah, and if something else comes up again, like I would gladly have you on my channel just to discuss whatever.
For sure.
If you haven't visited his channel yet, Denzel has a YouTube channel. It's amazing. It's great. If you're an INTJ, he knows INTJs really well. He's also our simp, so like show some support to this. But
the INTJ simp, I'll claim it.
All right, thanks again, everyone, for watching. Really do appreciate it. Thanks. Bye, everyone.